I would like to request the distinguished guests to take the seats so that we can start our meeting. The guests to come forward and take the front seats. Thank you. সকলো উপস্থিত আমন্ত্ৰিত অতিথিসকললৈ শুভ সন্ধিয়া জনাই মই আজিৰ সভাৰ কাৰ্যক্ৰম আৰম্ভ কৰিবলৈ লৈছোঁ। A very warm welcome to all the distinguished guests who are present here today. We are now commencing the program. I would like to request Krishna Sharma, convener Axom New Horizons, to be on the stage. Krishna, Monchale. Yeah. Today, we are honored to welcome Shri Gaurav Gogoi, Member of Parliament and Deputy Leader of the Opposition in Lok Sabha, আৰু এজন অতি জনপ্ৰিয় যুৱ নেতা। Gaurav Gogoi will be sharing his valuable insights with us today on shaping Assam's future through education, skills, employment, and economic growth. We welcome Shri Gaurav Gogoi on stage. Gaurav, মঞ্চলৈ আমন্ত্ৰণ জনাইছোঁ। We also extend এখন গামোচাৰে তেওঁক আদৰণি জনাইছোঁ। We also extend a warm welcome to Shri Gaurav Chaudhary, senior journalist who will be moderating today's session. Gaurav Chaudhary is a senior journalist, economist, podcaster, commentator, and media entrepreneur with nearly 3 decades of experience. He is currently group consulting editor at Network 18 and the founder and CEO of Earshot Digit Media, India's first Dolby-powered OTT platform for audio-video originals in Indian languages. Gaurav ইতিমধ্যে ষ্টেজত মঞ্চলৈ আহিছে। We welcome him on stage. Okay. এতিয়া মই কেইষাৰমান অসম নিউ হৰাইজনৰ বিষয়ে ক'বলৈ ওলাইছোঁ। যিখিনি নতুন অতিথি আজি ইয়াত উপস্থিত আছে তেখেতসকলে হয়তো আমাৰ এক্টিভিটি বিষয়ে সিমান নাজানে। So I am introducing today Axom New Horizon. Axom New Horizon is an informal collective of like-minded Assamese professionals based in Delhi, spanning publishing, law, bureaucracy, media, films, advertising, industry, and policy making. Axom New Horizons seeks to leverage our combined expertise and networks to spotlight key issues affecting Assam, advocate policy solutions for its social and economic progress, and help preserve its rich culture and linguistic heritage. Under the aegis of Axom New Horizons, we organized a series of talks on Brahmaputra River under the banner of Red River Series, which was actually attended by eminent experts, and finally all the talks culminated into a report which we submitted to the Government of India with recommendations for a sustainable solution of floods in Assam and its preventive measures. এতিয়া আহোঁ আমি আমাৰ পৰৱৰ্তী অনুষ্ঠানলৈ। আমি এতিয়া আমাৰ জাতীয় সংগীত ও মোৰ আপোনাৰ দেশ পৰিৱেশন কৰিম। May I now request everyone to kindly rise and for our state anthem, O Mor Apunar Desh. Anthem will be played with lyrics so everybody can follow and sing. ধন্যবাদ। সকলো অসমীয়া মানুহ এতিয়া হাৰ্ট ব্ৰোকেন। আমি সকলো অসমীয়া শোকবিহ্বল হৈ আছোঁ। With a heavy heart, we remember our beloved icon, our heartthrob, Zubin Garg, whom we lost under tragic circumstances in Singapore in September 19. অসমীয়া জুবিনৰ মহাপ্ৰয়াণত শোকস্তব্ধ। আজি এই সভাৰ জৰিয়তে আমি জুবিন গাৰ্গৰ পত্নী গৰিমা গাৰ্গ আৰু তেওঁৰ পৰিয়ালবৰ্গৰ লগত দুখৰ সমভাগী হোৱাৰ লগতে we convey our heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family of Zubin Garg. এতিয়া আমি জুবিনৰ স্মৃতিত 1 মিনিট সময় মৌন প্ৰাৰ্থনাৰে কৰিবলৈ অনুৰোধ জনাইছোঁ। Kindly keep a minute's silence in respect of Zubin Garg. আমি বহিব পাৰোঁ। অশেষ ধন্যবাদ সকলোলৈ। আমি সকলোৱে জানো জুবিনে ষ্টেজ পাৰফৰ্মেঞ্চবিলাকত কৈছিল যে when I die, Assam will stand still for 7 days আৰু সকলোতে মায়াবিনী বাজিব। People will play Mayavini or sing Mayavini after his demise. And সঁচাকৈয়ে সেইটোৱে হ'বলৈ আৰম্ভ কৰিলে and Mayavini has turned into an anthem. আৰু অসমৰ বাহিৰত আৰু overseasত জুবিনৰ মায়াবিনী এতিয়া এটা প্ৰেয়াৰৰ নিচিনা হ'ল। As his final wish, let us all sing Mayavini together. Let this be our সৰ্বশ্ৰেষ্ঠ শ্ৰদ্ধাঞ্জলি to our icon, heartthrob, Zubin Garg. Again, the Mayabini will be displayed in the screen, and you can follow the lyrics.
নিজানৰ গান মোৰ শেষ হ'ব ভাবোঁ তোমাৰ বুকুত মায়াবিনী ৰাতিৰ বুকুত দেখা পালোঁ তোমাৰ ছবি ধৰা দিলা গোপনে আহি হিয়াৰ কোণত তুমি যে মোৰ শুকান মনত নিয়ৰৰে চেঁচা টোপাল নামি অহা ৰ'দৰে নৈ মোৰ দেহত প্ৰতিপুৱা
Thank you very much. সকলোৱে বৰ ধুনীয়াকৈ গাইছে আৰু now let us proceed for the main segment of today's program, and I request Gaurav Chaudhary and Gaurav Gogoi to take the floor and begin the discussion. Thank you so much. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Rajarshi Baido. Thank you so much, Techno Krishna Baido. Thank you, Axom New Horizons, for organizing this on a Saturday evening. Thank you, Gaurav Gogoi Dangoria, for taking the time out for this conversation. And I don't think anyone who has any relations with Assam will be able to come to terms with the fact that our beloved Zubin Garg is no longer with us. Maivini, which we just heard, is playing on loop in our minds, in our hearts, in our soul. It's a devastating loss. I don't think we'll be able to come to terms with ever. Having said that, however, while Maivini is playing on loop in our minds, heart and soul, there is another song, another popular song, one of his very popular satirical rap numbers of 2019. It was part of his very popular Ma album, which came out on January 22nd, 2019, right after the anti-CA movement. It is the popular song is Politics No Koriba Bondhu. Don't indulge in politics, my friend. In the aftermath of his death, hashtag Justice for Zubin it now appears is actually transforming into a hashtag of political mudslinging in Assam's very charged political atmosphere. What's your view?
Thank you, Gaurav, for first of all summarizing the present state of the Assamese mind and heart very beautifully. At the outset, let me also thank Axom New Horizons, the entire team, especially Krishna Sharma Baido, for organizing today's very important and pivotal discussion and interaction at a very poignant time. And I would also like to thank all of you who have especially made time to come here to collectively reflect on the state of Assamese society. To come straight to the point, I think people of Assam are tremendously hurt and feel extremely wounded like they never had before. And you have seen that reflection in today's event. I don't know any other interaction which would have started with a song as a tribute to a legendary singer. And I don't know any other society where the people collectively, even after 1 month, would stand in solemn silence and sing that song as a prayer, as an anthem, as a way to heal. And therefore, at this time, what is needed for the people of Assam is a healing hand, is a healing leadership. People of Assam need a friend, a philosopher, and a guide to see them through this tremendous tragedy. And no doubt, one of the key stakeholders in providing a healing hand is the government and the political leadership. And one only needs to compare the sentiments of the people of Assam and the kind of statements we are hearing from our political leadership. And you can see the difference between what the people expect to hear and what they're actually hearing. And I think that really troubles me. As someone in the public sphere, I think it is our responsibility to help people through this troubled time, to give them support. And when I don't see that support coming from those sitting in positions of power, I feel disappointed. Yet we carry on asking for justice, asking for the truth, because only when the truth is revealed behind Zubin Garg's death, will we attain some form of closure? Otherwise, in the era of speculation, it is unfortunate that a month has passed, we are nowhere close to the truth, and therefore we have not achieved closure, and therefore the wound is still very much open. And that's why we feel it's very important to reach that point of closure and let the truth emerge.
You know, Gaurav, let me ask you a very straightforward question. Punpotia prasno. Zubin Gargor onakankik aro akasmik biugor pisot Ahomor Rajniti kenaka holoni. So how has Zubin Garg's, untimely death transformed Assam politics? Is Zubin's death a point of inflection given the time that it has happened, because we're only 6 months away to the elections?
So, Zubin da jodio kuno rajnotik dolor hodosyo nasil, kintu rajniti uporot bibhinno homoyot nijor sposto kothabur prokak korisil. Aru he karone aji teketor onupostitit ami teor koi joa kotha kini smoron korisu. Jikhini kotha amak sui goise. Aru ami jikono dolor somorthok hobo paru. কিন্তু সকলোৱে আমি জুবিনদাৰ ৰাজনীতি সন্দৰ্ভত যিখিনি কথা কৈছিল, কিছু কথাত প্ৰত্যেক কথাত কিছু যুক্তি আমি দেখা পাওঁ। তেওঁ সাংস্কৃতিক বিভাগক কেতিয়াবা কৈছিল যে আৰু সাংস্কৃতিৰ ওপৰত জোৰ দিব লাগে, গুৰুত্ব দিব লাগে। তেওঁ কেতিয়াবা চৰকাৰে যেতিয়া কিছুমান চমক লগোৱা কামখিনি কৰে, যেতিয়া অসম ক্লাছিকেল লেংগুৱেজৰ ষ্টেটাছ দিলে, সেই সময়ত জুবিনদাৰ ষ্টেণ্ড ভাল পাওঁ বা বেয়া পাওঁ, মানিব লাগিব তেখেতৰ সাহস। আজি তাৰিখত বৰ্তমানৰ ৰাজনৈতিক পৰিৱেশত এগৰাকী শিল্পী কেন্দ্ৰৰ চৰকাৰৰ সিদ্ধান্তৰ বিৰুদ্ধে নিজৰ মনৰ কথা প্ৰকাশ কৰাটো এক্সট্ৰিমলি ৰেয়াৰ, নাপাবই। কিন্তু তেওঁ বলিষ্ঠভাৱে সেইখিনি কথা ক'লে। আৰু সেই যে সাহস আমাক আজি তাৰিখত য'ত যিসকল ৰাজনীতি ভাবে যে ৰাজনীতিৰ জৰিয়তে আমি ক্ষমতা পাম, ক্ষমতাৰ জৰিয়তে আমি মানুহক নিৰ্দেশ দিম, নিৰ্দেশ দিওঁতে আমি মানুহক নিয়ন্ত্ৰণ কৰিম, জুবিনদাৰ কথাত যিখিনি সাহসৰে যে গুণ যে আমি দেখা পাওঁ, আজি তাৰিখত মই ভাবোঁ মানুহবোৰ আৰু সাহসীয় হ'ব লাগে। আৰু আজিৰ তাৰিখত সাহসৰে বিবেকেৰে নিজৰ সিদ্ধান্ত লোৱাটো সময় অনুসৰি এটা গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ এটা পইণ্টত আমি আহি পৰিছোঁ। আৰু সেইকাৰণে মানুহে যিকোনো ৰাজনৈতিক সিদ্ধান্ত লওক, কিন্তু আজিৰ তাৰিখত সমাজৰ ওপৰত জুবিনদাৰ কৈ যোৱা কথাখিনি মানুহক বাধ্য কৰাইছে বিশ্লেষণ কৰিবলৈ যে আমি ক'ত আহি পালোঁ, এয়া আমাৰ অসম নে, আমি এনেদৰে অসমীয়া সমাজ জীয়াই ৰাখিবলৈ বিচাৰোঁনে, নে অসমৰ কাৰণে আমি কি কৰিব পাৰোঁ? এই যে গুৰুত্বপূৰ্ণ প্ৰশ্ন তেখেতে নিজৰ আমাৰ মনত এৰি থৈ গৈছে, সেয়া এটা ডাঙৰ মই ভাবোঁ তেখেতে উপহাৰ অসমৰ জনসাধাৰণক দিছে। আৰু যদিও তেওঁ ৰাজনৈতিক নহয়, এজন ৰাজনীতিবিদ হিচাপে মই তেখেতক অসমৰ এজন মহান নেতা হিচাপে গ্ৰহণ কৰোঁ।
Let me tell you something what the Chief Minister just said a couple of days ago. তেওঁ কৈছিল, তেওঁ মন্তব্য কৰিছিল, যদি মই, I am quoting him, যদি মই পদত্যাগ কৰোঁ, that is if the Chief Minister resigns, 50% প্ৰতিবাদ নোহোৱা হৈ যাব, আৰু গৌৰৱ গগৈ যদি চিফ মিনিষ্টাৰ হয়, বাকী 50% প্ৰতিবাদ একেবাৰে নাইকিয়া হৈ যায়। It means the Chief Minister said that if I resign, 50% of the protests will disappear, and if Gaurav Gogoi subsequently is made the Chief Minister, the remaining 50% of the protests will disappear. It's more than an oblique allusion that Gaurav Gogoi and the State Congress establishment is kind of orchestrating the protest to cause unrest in the state. What's your view?
মই নাজানো তেওঁ এইখিনি কথা কিয় ক'লে। যিমানবোৰ আমি আইনী গৱেষকৰ কথাবোৰ শুনিছোঁ, লিগেল এক্সপাৰ্টছ, ক্ৰিমিনেল এক্সপাৰ্টছ, তেওঁলোকৰ যি অপিনিয়ন, ৰায়, আজি সামাজিক মাধ্যমত বহুত ৰিটায়াৰ্ড পুলিচ অফিচাৰ্ছ বা টিভি ডিছকাশ্যনত আমি লিগেল এক্সপাৰ্টছৰ কথাবোৰ শুনিছোঁ। এনেধৰণৰ হাই প্ৰফাইল ডেথ যেতিয়া হয়, তেতিয়া চৰকাৰে যি ধৰণে ৰেছপনচিবলি উইথ মেচিউৰিটি ডিচিশ্যনবোৰ ল'ব লাগে, ইনভেষ্টিগেশ্যন সম্পৰ্কত যিদৰে নিৰ্দেশ দিব লাগে, ক'ৰবাত মানুহে তাত সেইখিনি আমি দেখা পোৱা নাই। মুখ্যমন্ত্ৰীয়ে এইখিনিও কথা কৈছিল যে আমি দিৱালী দুৰ্গা পূজাৰ আমি সময় দিছোঁ, 6 অক্টোবৰ পিছত আহিলেই হ'ব, এইখিনিও কথা কৈছিল। তো সেইকাৰণে আজিৰ তাৰিখত নিৰ্বাচন বাদ দিয়ক, বিৰোধী দলসকলক বাদ দিয়ক, তেওঁ একমাত্ৰ ৰাইজৰ তেখেতৰ পৰা একমাত্ৰ এটাহে এক্সপেক্টেশ্যন আশা যে গোটেই ইনভেষ্টিগেশ্যন ইজ এ ভেৰি হাই ভিজিবল complicated investigation, do the best job that is possible and handle this case with maturity and sensibility. That's the only expectation the people of Assam have, and that's his only responsibility at this moment.
You know, Gaurav, we are less than 6 months away in the crucial assembly elections in the state, and there is some kind of a marker or a precursor, if I may say, in the Bodoland Territorial Council election that took place last month. The BPF swept with 28 seats, the BJP won 7, and the UPPL won 5. The Congress drew a blank. This is a region that encompasses 15 assembly seats. Aren't you worried?
I'm not worried. I do recognize that it is a challenge, given the fact that Congress has never contested with whole efforts in that area, primarily due to our alliance strategy with the BPF in the past. And therefore, we have to learn how to stand on our own feet, and in the recent elections, we put forward candidates in all 40 seats, and we did our rallies, and in our rallies, we got tremendous response. And I think the people of BTR voted, from their own perspective, but what I must say, that what I understand from BTR is that 10 years is a long time. And people of BTR for the past 10 years have witnessed a certain kind of political regime or leadership. And 10 years is enough time for really to transform the society or to really let people down, and people can then move on and take the next decisions. Because if I were to give the example of my late father, my understanding of his tenure, that the major transformative work that took place in Assam during late Tarun Gogoi's tenure happened in 10 years. The first tenure, the first 5 years, was about recovering the financial crisis, about ensuring that salaries are paid on time. And the second 5 years was about laying the foundation of medical colleges, education, sports, attracting investment, Taj opening up, Radisson opening up. And those 10 years were the real 10 years where he did most of his work. His third term, the Congress's third term, the last 5 years, was racked by internal politics for which people punished us. And therefore, if you compare the 10 years of 2001 to 2011 of Congress under the leadership of Tarun Gogoi ji, and the 10 years that we have right now, I think people are ready to evaluate that it is time to move on and look at something different and at an alternative.
Absolutely. Electoral success is also to a very large extent a function of how quickly you can stitch together an alliance. It's also a function of alliance arithmetic. Soon after the BTC elections, the BPF, which contested against the BJP and the UPPL, which is an NDA constituent, one of the members of the BPF was inducted into the Assam cabinet, and it has created a peculiar situation where both UPPL and BPF, both rivals in BTC, are now part of the India government in the state. What's your plan for stitching together an alliance, particularly among indigenous communities in Assam, because you have to take on a very formidable NDA, which is in power and they have the resources?
My overall view and our party's view on the alliance is that we are open to it. We've said it many times in the past that we are definitely not contesting by ourselves, which by itself means that we will be entering into political alliance. And for us, what we feel where we are currently, the upcoming elections cannot just be an alliance of political parties, one coalition versus the other coalition. It really has to be an alliance of people who are in this audience, people who have tremendous professional experience, who have tremendous zeal to give back to their native state, whether with their experience, with their networks, with their wealth, with their wisdom. And I am much more looking forward to building an alliance that goes beyond just, seat sharing with political parties to really a collective vision where people of Assam feel that it's their government. It's not the government led by one person, but it's the government of the people of Assam, a government that responds to the needs of the people of Assam, not to one person, that government that respects the people of Assam, not one person. So that's the kind of alliance I'm really excited by, because we really are in very challenging times. Our fiscal deficit is not that great. The state of education and health is extremely poor. Looking at Niti Aayog's own statistics, we are at the bottom 5 on education and on health. On private investment, if you take out big ticket investment, overall the industrial sentiment, the retail sentiment is quite limited. So there is a whole set of challenges. Our educational institutions, if you look at what's happening at Tespi University, is dismal. It's very disappointing. If you look at the state of health, whether it's the Guwahati Medical College or Dibrugarh Hospital, it is extremely poor. So really, we really need a collective think, an alliance that goes beyond politics. And really, we need a government that just does not only work as per bureaucratic culture, but is much more open, much more friendlier to technology, and much more open to outside help as well.
The Congress has been out of power for 10 years now, after ruling the state for 15 uninterrupted years. And the state unit has also gone through a significant organizational revamp. You have taken over as the state party chief only recently. Given the electoral challenges that you face, how steep has been the learning curve for you?
It's been very steep, I must say, because I'm someone who does not have a background in student politics. I'm someone who initially started with the aspirations of getting a job in Boston Consulting Group or Monitor. And as destiny would have it, though I didn't wind up in youth politics, I did find myself in the field of activism on a vast variety of social issues, whether environment, ecology, rural livelihoods. And therefore, from youth activism, I managed to understand a lot about politics, and that's how I've approached politics. And it's been a very steep learning curve, but I've had the benefit of receiving the education from one of the best minds on Indian politics, on Congress ideology, and on the state of Assam, which is my father. I think the conversations that I've had with him, he would go out for his tour, come back. At this time, in 2011, I have returned to Assam from my master's and having left a professional career. And I've also done my own tour of Assam to different parts, and we would discuss many things. I would try to learn and understand many things. And therefore, it's been a steep learning curve, it's been a quick learning curve, but at the same time, I think destiny has been very kind, and I've also been very kind to have had the wisdom of my late father, who I said is no doubt one of the best minds. And I can't believe that even now, even though he left his government in 2016, so many of the conversations that I've had with him on Assam, on economy, on culture, on politics, on regional ethnic sentiment, So much of those conversations are still so relevant for me today, and I rely on those conversations and on those lessons when I have to make decisions in my current position.
You know, Gaurav, the State Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma has made you the focal point of a frontal attack, and an SIT was instituted. A report has been submitted about investigating a purported visit to Pakistan, your connections with Pakistan, and the Chief Minister has described the findings of a report as damning, quote unquote damning. He has also said that he has evidence about your children not being citizens of India, and he has described you as a tourist to India. How do you respond to that?
Well, unfortunately, this is the SIT constituted in my case is not the first SIT that has been constituted under this government. And if you look at the different SITs which have been constituted, I think their track record is extremely poor. And SIT now in Assam has just means to keep the truth away. Because whether it's the SIT on the death of this young police inspector Junmuni Rabha, we don't know. Whether it's the SIT on my case, we don't know the facts. The SIT on Zubin Garg's case, a month has passed, we don't know the facts. Some would say that CBI is more relevant, but we had a young engineer in Bongaigaon, Jyotisha Das. She committed suicide. The matter went to CBI. We are far away from that. So unfortunately, the SIT, the constitution of SIT itself is something that now people in Assam look at with doubt, look at as a way for the chief minister to control the narrative, to give his spin, and it is more about his version of the truth as opposed to what really happened. Other than that, I have found the people of Assam to be, and like the people of India, we are all wise to political tricks. I think some politicians underestimate the intelligence of the people of Assam. People of Assam can see through tricks, gimmicks, political SITs, political CBIs, political narratives, and therefore my view is different. When I took over the responsibility of the chief minister, of the party president, I gave out the facts, whether it's to do with the citizenship of my children. I had a press conference in Delhi. I gave out the facts of when I visited Pakistan. I gave out the facts why my wife worked for an NGO that had ties. So I gave out all the facts. So my view is very different, that I respect the intelligence of the people of Assam, and I don't try to, pull a fast one over their eyes.
Let's change tack a bit. February 18, 1983 is many people in this room will probably relate to, because it kind of opens up very deep wounds. And 42 years after the Nelly massacre happened, massacre happened in Assam, February 18, 1983, and 41 years after the Tiwari Commission was constituted, the report was submitted in 1984. The cabinet this week has decided that it's going to be made public and tabled in the State Assembly on November 25 next month in the Assembly. This carries the risk of really reopening very deep wounds and scars. What's your view?
First, I think many people, when they talk about Nelly, they talk about it as a tragedy. They talk about it as a massacre. They talk about the political context of that time, what were the topics that were being discussed. Nobody has forgotten those images of children and family. It's absolutely brutal. And at the same time, some of us remember that former Prime Minister, late Indira Gandhi ji, visited Assam. Ghani Khan Sahab, a former Union Railway Minister from West Bengal, visited Assam. the political leadership of the state at that time, whether it's Mukut Sarma, late Hiteshwar Soikia Dev, everybody tried to understand why this tragedy took place, why this massacre took place, and we, as you said, we've gone past, we've gone ahead. Some of those issues still remain relevant today. And I think it's an unfortunate way of doing politics, which is this maximalist strategy, no holds barred, anything goes to get power, even if, as you said, I'm quoting your words, even if it is reopening old wounds, deepening those scars, to get power, everything is kosher. I think that's a very maximalist view that some people are practicing politics today. That's not how we practice. That's not our ideology. Our ideology is to respect the past, to pay tribute to the offer a silent prayer to the victims, and find real solutions to the issues which were as much important then as they are today.
You know, the thing with the Tiwari Commission report, which is going to be made public, is also that it's fraught with the risk that it could turn many of the accepted theories on its head. We have come to believe about certain things, and if the report's findings, which of course the government is privy to now, tells another story just 3 to 4 months before the elections, then the atmosphere could get a little strident, leading to polarization. What's your view?
I think we should all be ready for a high rhetoric, highly polarized next 5 months. I think people of Assam need to be ready for the storm of polarization and rhetoric that the BJP, through its political machinery, are going to unleash. And I think what we would hope that people of Assam would remain steady, would have a thoughtful view, would take a very wise decision on the political, in the next election, to be not swept away by rhetoric, but to focus on reality, to focus on aspirations, to focus on reality. And they are welcome to practice their electoral tactics. As I said, what I'm more excited by is that we in Assam are faced with similar challenges that the Congress faced back in 2001. Fiscally, we were not doing so well. Law and order was not that, was a tremendous problem. The political leadership at that point of time, whether it's at the state or at the center, people had huge expectations, gave them a second chance at power, but they could not meet those expectations. And if we do come to power, with great power comes great responsibility. And therefore, the next 5 years, the real work begins. Not the elections, but the real work begins after the Congress and its allies form the government. That really, how do we transform Assam into Assam that we are familiar with? How do we go back to our roots, go back to the Assamese society that we grew up in? And over the last 10, 15 years, there has been so much of knowledge gained by Assamese professionals across the world. How do we leverage that? There are new developments in technology, in economic thinking, in engineering, in science, ecology. How do we use that to really make the next 5 years of us being in power, to make that really count, so that it leaves a mark, we do something transformative, we do something that people of Assam remember us for. And most importantly, I think, what we really need and what the Zubin Garg death has taught us, that Assam needs healing. And I think that's going to be a priority for us to really heal the wounds that have crept into Assamese society.
You know, Gaurav, you have been propagating the idea and the concept of a Borohom or a greater Assam or an inclusive Assam, if I may describe it that way. Critics and your political rivals, however, say this is a roundabout way of legitimizing illegal migrants and threatening the very socioeconomic and socio-cultural identity of the Assamese in their very own homeland. How would you respond to that?
They don't understand what Bhupenda meant by Borohom, what Zubinda meant by Borohom, what Jyoti Prasad Agarwal meant by Borohom. They don't understand that. But, you know, all of us live in different cities. And we've seen that how proud people are of their respective states and culture. When you go to Maharashtra, it's about Marathi pride. When you go to the state of Karnataka, it's about Kannadiga pride. Similarly, when you go to West Bengal, it's about Bhadralok. Similarly, when you come to Assam, it's about Assamese pride. And at the same time, we are all Indians. And we respect the Indian flag. And that's what makes India great, that it is a union that is holding this fierce, proud people of different linguistic backgrounds. And similarly, Borohom means that. It is about being proud of Assam, whether you are a Karbi, whether you are a Bengali in Silchar, whether you are a Nepali in Tinsukia, whether you are a Ahom in Lakhimpur, whether you are a minority in Gwalpara, to give space to everyone's pride, hopes and aspirations. That's what Borohom means for us. It is not about putting one identity over the other. We don't believe in this concept of one. We believe that only when we are united and everybody is respected, that we really become strong. And that's the Borohom that I think, that I understood from Jyoti Prasad Agarwal, Bhupen Hazarika, and now Zubinda.
Now, you talked about the linguistic aspect of it, and I'll come to that. In Assam's Muslim population, according to estimates, is going to touch about 38% by the time the next census results come along in 2027. And the Assamese speaking are already a linguistic minority in Assam. What's the Congress's view on this? Because this is a hot political issue.
No, we want the census to happen. Because with the census, one of our demands is going to be realized, which is the caste census. And the caste census, especially in Assam's context, is really going to give a lot of information to different ethnic communities who are asking for various political rights. So whether it's the 6 ethnic communities demanding ST status, whether it's the Adivasi community asking for subcategorization. So we want the caste census to be done so that we get the real picture, so that these facts enable the different communities to demand their rightful rights, whether it's about the tribal people living in the plains, the Karbi people living in the plains, whether it's about the missing people in other parts of Assam. When it comes to demography, I think we all have understood that we need family planning, that we need what India's demographic dividend that people were talking about is now becoming a demographic liability, because the number of unemployed youth is just continuing to rise. So, and that demography, that burgeoning population is putting pressure on our environment. Therefore, you have those landslides in different parts of India. It leads to rapid urbanization. So you do need to look at your population and your population numbers very carefully. And the way that I look at population and the way I look at demography is different from the way the BJP are looking. The BJP are looking, religion-wise. I'm looking at the demography as how do we preserve the forests and rivers of Assam if the population grows like this? How do we preserve the temperature of Assam if we continue to cut off hills to make more roads? I look at how do we produce enough doctors to look after the elderly? How do we have a government that is responsible or responsive to the needs of so many? So I think demography is a very important subject. They look at from their lens, we look at from our perspective.
You know, staying on demography, the Deputy Speaker of the Assam Assembly, Numal Momin, who is incidentally the only Garo MLA in the Assam Assembly, he said that in July, as recent as July, he said that 15 districts of Assam's 35 districts are already in a Muslim majority, and the Congress's motto is to turn Assam into an Islamic state, and that is the reason the Congress is opposed to the ongoing eviction drive. How would you respond to that?
As I said, this is the time for political propaganda. Going back to demography, you only have to look at the trends. That irrespective of whichever religion you belong to, the fertility rate is going down. And as a result, over the decades, our populations are shrinking. In a way, after a few decades, we'll end up like China, where a majority of today's youth, they will be elderly. And therefore, I think we're not asking the right questions. Are we creating enough jobs? When these young people become elderly, do we have the educational infrastructure, do we have the medical health infrastructure to look after them? And where do we send this demography? So that's the really important question. On evictions, you go to any household in Assam, the first thing they will say, etu mati ekhete kini lole. Etu mati tekhete kini lole. Tat teonloke etu bonaise. Tat hetu bonaise. So for a certain political gang, I'm using a gang, the term, for a certain political gang, there are no rules. They can bypass agricultural laws, they can bypass forest laws, they can encroach government property. For this political gang, there is no such rules and laws. And this political gang have been politically active during Congress time, and now they're active in the current time as well. So when I see that the law is not being universally applied to everyone, then I feel that that's wrong, and it is being done with a certain intention in mind. If the law is being done parallelly, so Hilhakho bill. Now people have been removed from Hilhakho bill, but the Ginger Hotel remains and many other buildings remain. So then therefore the poor, who are often we have to understand, who continue to lose their land due to erosion, their future is always unstable. They go from Majuli to Jorhat, they go from Dhemaji to Guwahati, they go from Dhing to Horupothar. There's a certain people with whom nature has been furious, and they just are people, they are migrant labor, they are not going outside, they don't have the ability to go to the US, they don't have the ability to go to Canada, they are just going in search of a better life within our state, and unfortunately they are being targeted.
You know, the government has just constituted or is going to come out with the National Demographic Mission, tasked with 3 Ds, which was also the part of the Assam Accord of 1985, detect, delete, that is disenfranchise, delete the names from the voters list, and deport. What is the Congress's stand on that?
We just had a massive exercise which is now left undone, which is the NRC exercise. That was an exercise monitored under a Supreme Court Chief Justice of India, in which Government of India gave special permission to the Government of Assam to do an NRC. We had to get a permission from Government of Assam to get the approval of the Registrar of India, and that entire NRC exercise was done in conjunction with different student organizations, including with ASU. It was an exercise where even the people of Assam participated when they were enrolling data. We had one of the most complicated and rigorous way of examining your citizenship and your papers by looking at family tree. There were several legal judgments which kind of gave clarity to the entire process. And now when the NRC should have been taken to its logical conclusion, now again we are left in a state of limbo. So it's unfortunate, whether it's NRC, whether it's the committee constituted by Government of India on Assam Accord. Often these are initiatives which don't reach their logical conclusion. For that matter, look at CAA.
Yeah.
You had CAA which totally nullified the Assam Accord. You created vast agitation. You opened deep wounds. The Bengali people of Assam now, they have to say that we are actually Bangladeshi. For years, they have integrated themselves into mainstream Assamese society. They are Assam. They are people of Assam. And now due to this, they have to, people again view them as, oh, you are people, you are Bangladeshi, you are migrant. You've created that bridge. For what? How many people have you actually given the benefit of CA in Assam too? How many people? You can count them on your hand. So just because last time there were 2021 elections, therefore you did NRC CA, now there are the 2026 elections, so you're doing demography and evictions. Again, as I said, people of Assam will need to really think for the next 5 years what kind of government we want and what kind of political leadership we want.
You know, the Election Commission is talking about carrying out a national special intensive revision of voters list. In the Karnataka, where your party is in power, has actually launched a spirited vote chori campaign to disenfranchise fake voters. Why are you opposed to an SIR nationally then?
I think all of you remember the thrill and excitement that people of India felt then when you had a chief election commissioner like T.N. Session. And you felt that, okay, now we've put the election commission in such a place that it can act with responsibility, and its foremost duty is to the Constitution of India, its foremost duty is to the citizens, its foremost duty is to the voters so that they can exercise their universal franchise. Today, the election commission, the way they're acting, it's as if they've sworn an oath to one political party. Elections are scheduled as per the campaign schedules and priorities of the Prime Minister. Complaints made by opposition parties are rejected. Evidence that we have submitted through the office of the leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, evidence, instead of being countered with a deep investigation or reflection, is being countered through press conferences. So therefore, I think we are really need to be extremely vigilant that if institutions like the Election Commission of India start behaving as if they have sworn an oath to a political party instead of citizens, we are in a very sensitive and a very vulnerable place as a society. And therefore, people of India need to understand that their right to vote really matters, and institutions need to be held accountable to them. And therefore, we have to be much more vigilant. We have to be much more, I would say, much more assertive as well, because there is on the other side a well-oiled machinery whose view on society is very different from ours, whose view on leadership is very different from ours, whose view on government is very different from ours. So therefore, we also have, we cannot afford to be laissez-faire anymore. We cannot afford to be just drawing room conversationalists. We cannot afford to be afraid and scared of repercussions. We really have to be bold and fearless. And in a way, again, going back to Zubinda, we have to be fearless and express our view, no matter which side you're on. But I think that often today people are afraid of criticizing the government, and I think we are in a very sad place if people of India are afraid to criticize the decisions, rightly or wrongly, of their own government.
You know, we are barely 10 days away from the first phase of the Bihar elections, the Mahagathbandhan, of which the Congress is a very significant constituent. Considerable time was lost in announcing the chief ministerial phase. Why did it take such a long time? And is the house in order? Because there is one view that Rahul Gandhi is hardly seen in Bihar when we are in the, the slogovers of the elections.
No, I must say, when I did not have the position of party president of Assam Pradesh Congress, I would have a sound view on the politics of many states, which was based on my conversations, understanding, and on my own study. But having taken the responsibility of the party president of Assam, of Congress, with only 6-7 months left for elections, my 24 hours is too small or too less to do my own job. So in order to, I think it would be very naive of me right now to give an opinion on another state, on matters related to our party in another state. I'm here with the people of Assam, and I'm happy to talk about Assam with you.
Gaurav, offering freebies during elections, both by incumbents and challengers, has now become essentially turning out voting to be a very institutionally transactional activity. We have seen this in all the states. We have seen this in Karnataka, in Himachal, in Maharashtra, in Madhya Pradesh, Telangana, and now, of course, in Bihar. How do we actually delink this? How do we make, welfare economics and politics completely decoupled from cash payouts as electoral promissory notes?
See, Gaurav, I'll take you back to the BTR elections. If freebies were the decisive factor, the BJP would have won a thumping majority in the BTR elections. They were in power, in with the UPPL, and the BJP's seats from 9 went down to 5. The opposition, the BPF, came to power with a thumping majority, and all these freebies were being promised by the ruling party there. And therefore, if the BTR election and the current state of the Assamese people show anything, it shows that beyond schemes and freebies, what people are looking forward to is leadership and vision. And I think people are able to see through that if they invest in the right leadership, if they invest in their right vision, their future is much more secure. I think that's what the people did in BTR, and I think that's what the people in Assam will do in 2026.
Sticking to Assam, Assam faces significant, like many other states, significant challenge of creating jobs for the youth. And there are tens of thousands who are joining the queue of job hopefuls every year. And there are many others who are actually leaving the state in search of opportunities outside. And successive governments have tried to do many things. We have had investment summits, both during the Congress, 15 years of Congress rule, and even now. However, job creation remains a perennial problem. If you were to come to power, what is the model that you have in place?
You have to understand the disruptions that are taking place first. The technological disruption is real. E-commerce is really disrupting whether it's malls or the small retail stores. You have to understand the disruption that is taking place in government's own, I don't want to say budgets, the kind of deficit that they are in. It really is limiting what they're able to do in terms of innovation. GST has become a constraint on state government's ability to extract more revenue. You are holden to a council, and therefore revenue generation has become another critical, that our hands are tied. If you look at other different state governments, they only play with the excise policy if they want to increase more revenue, or they give land at highly subsidized rates if they give investment. So even governments' avenues for raising revenue and inviting investment is either between doing some tweaking the excise policy or offering land at cheap rates. So we are, even as any government, is in a very tight spot. And therefore, these are the real challenges that exist. If you look at private industry are not investing as they should. Forget about Assam. In India themselves, they're not investing as they should, despite getting corporate tax cuts, despite getting various schemes. Their private investment numbers are still very dampened, I must say. So there are a whole lot of realities that we exist in. And therefore, the typical way that we feel that decision is taking place in government, कि चलो let's come up with a new scheme. ये scheme करते हैं, and the scheme is what? It's a subsidy.
Right.
Most schemes are subsidies. You get a 5% subsidy, you get transport subsidy, you get some, besides a subsidy, what other tool are you doing? So I think, therefore, government cannot just rely on people within government to come up with the solutions on today's time. We really have to reach out to the larger talent pool that exists outside of government to come up with solutions. And I remember that's what my late father also did. When he came to power in 2001, he relied on a lot of World Bank experts. The IFAD loan really helped us in agriculture. World Bank really helped us in agriculture. JICA really helped us in many road and water related projects. There were a lot of people who were coming and giving solutions to him. So therefore, to sit here and to say that this is what I'm going to do, I don't think that's the smart way. That's the easy way, but that's not the smart way. The smart way is really, can we have a modern government that rewards performing bureaucrats, that has a culture of openness, of taking risks? Can we allow people to come in and contribute? And then I'm sure that we can come up with the right way forward. But definitely what many people say, that we are missing a trick on education. Many people say that we are missing a trick on skilling. Many people say that we are missing a trick in apprenticeship. Many people are saying that we're not doing enough on small industry and entrepreneurship. My only positive spin on entrepreneurship is that I can see a change in Assamese youth who would look to a government job as security, and now business has become much more acceptable. It is not looked down upon in Assamese society today. And I think really we need to come up with a business plan that makes sense from an employment perspective for Assam.
Now, do you think the time for gradualism is over and it's now time to go for a big bang?
Sorry?
Do you think it's time to go for a big bang? So far we have been only doing incrementalism.
I think you do need big bang reforms in land, mainly because many people in Assam do not have land titles. Whether they are Bengali, Karbi, Missing, Ahomia, Bodo, many people, and I go across land titles, not having land ownership. I think that's a huge way of insecurity. So I do think if there is a big bang reform that is needed, it is in the era of land ownership. But I must say, when it comes to business, I think we really need to seed the idea of business and entrepreneurship much more in Assamese society, minds, homes, schools, colleges, curriculums, and in the bureaucracy and in the political leadership.
Let me ask you a question about the Congress party nationally, and the party is going through a intergenerational transition, and the pain points are visible in a state where you are in power in Karnataka. The Chief Minister's son has said, Siddaramaya's son has said, Yatindra has said that his political life career is probably nearing his end, and successor is going to be some other minister, clearly not D.K. Shivakumar. What does it mean?
See, again, I think my view on the way our party has responded to the electoral setbacks in 2014 and 19, when some people were writing off the Congress party, some people thought of Congress Mukt Bharat. I think our revival from those electoral setbacks of 14 and 19 is nothing short of phenomenal. I think the way, if you look at the people of Assam responded to Rahul Gandhi's latest visit to Zubin Garg's home, his conversations with late Zubindar's father and family, and what he had to say, so the people's perception of Rahul Gandhi has, over the last 10 years, has been transformative. And he definitely, whether through his parliament speeches or his way of doing political yatras and his emphasis, I mean, if you go back to Bihar, you know, what he recently said, that one party wants you to stay glued to your WhatsApp group and just watch WhatsApp messages, and whatever comes in WhatsApp, you should think that. That's what one party wants. And what we want is for you to be engineers. We want you to be entrepreneurs. We want you to be producing those phones. We want you to be producing those batteries. We want you to be producing those electoral components. So his economic vision, his social philosophy, his political philosophy towards India, I think people are beginning to see a real alternative. So I'm extremely bullish on the Congress party. I feel proud to be to belong to this particular ideology, and people themselves are saying that enough of hate, enough of divisiveness. We respect all religions. We are proud Hindus, but this is not what we asked for.
You know, Gaurav, last question before we open it up for questions from the floor. You represent Jorhat in the Lok Sabha. What is going to be the constituency in the assembly elections? Is it going to be Titabar, Majuli, Jorhat, Tiok, or do you have plans to take on the Chief Minister directly in a one-on-one fight and intend to contest from wherever he stands?
I'm only here to serve, and I would serve wherever the party wishes me to serve. I was in a similar position back in 2024. I did not know where I would be contesting the Lok Sabha elections from, whether it is Jorhat, Kaziranga or Nagaon. And therefore, even today, it depends on the party leadership where they feel fit to contest. I'm ready for a contest. I think people of Assam are ready for a contest. But as I said, what's more important is what comes next after the elections. What comes next? How do you bring back Assam to the Assam that we knew? How do we create the Assam of the new in terms of its economy, of its industrial vision, and how do we, as you said, do some big bang reforms, whether it's in land or in education?
Thank you so much. Questions from the floor? We have about half an hour. Yeah, there is one. Media. All media.
So first you should go to non-media.
Okay, Sanjeev Barua. Can we get a mic for Sanjeev?
Non-media.
Media is hunting for headlines.
That's true. I thought I'd given some. That's why I was like, let's go to non-media and we'll get out of politics.
We'll mix it up.
No, I think, Gaurav Chaudhary, okay, I think he's been a little bit, partial, he being a journalist himself, so I think he preferred me over the others. Possibly that might be the reason. But see, I'd like to ask you about broadly contentious issue that has been plaguing the state for quite some time. It's about the demand for the 6th schedule tribal status for 6 ethnic communities. Now, I understand you already said that you'd rather wait for the caste census, but as things stand on the ground now, what is the position of yours personally, and of course of your party? Because this is an issue, I think, which will rock the state for some time to come. That's one part, and if I kindly may get the permission to ask a second question.
Sure.
Well, I mean, there have been forces of secessionism in the state for quite some time. Do you look upon it, like many others, as a law and order problem, or do you see that there's a much more deeper malaise that needs to be corrected? Thank you.
I'll try to keep it short so that we can interact with a lot of people. We are in favor of the 6th schedule demand by the 6 major ethnic communities. We've supported that in the past. We've done our own, during our government, we've passed resolution in the assembly, we've given N recommendations, we've given a lot of information. In fact, what this government needs to do is to give the next set of solutions. That if these 6 communities, if they join the ST list, then how much further do you expand the ST reservation? By what percentage, by what quantum should ST reservations in Assam increase so that all communities who fall under the ST list get their space? And at the same time, after having 6 major communities passing out from the list of OBCs, other backward classes, then what is the change in the quantum of OBC reservation? And I think this is a complicated exercise which the government should have done over the last 10 years. Our government in Telangana in a short time has undertaken an entire caste census, has gone much beyond the work that was required in proposing the increase in ST cap and modifying the OBC reservations. So we support that. At the same time, we have to understand what other tribal communities are also demanding. We have to understand what the Rabhas are demanding regarding their 6th schedule. We have to be mindful of what the Karbi people are demanding with Article 244A. We have to be mindful of what the Garos are demanding. So those who are already scheduled tribes, they too have political aspirations. They too have political demands. And I think often they do not get the space that is rightly deserving. I think that's also important. The second, I would not use the word malaise, but there is a deeper sentiment that does exist, and I think we need to acknowledge it, we need to face it, and we need to overcome it.
There's a question there in the black shirt here.
Thank you. First of all, let me thank Assam New Horizons for this prestigious opportunity to attend this event on behalf of all Assamese Students Association, ASA-ND. Sir, I have one question and a request. My question is, a boy coming from Assam having a brilliant academic career in Indraprastha University in Delhi in 2004, what advice will you give to us coming to Delhi from Assam for studies with the due concerns of skill development and growing unemployment? And my request is, sir, being a responsible elected representative from Assam in Delhi, can we expect all the representatives, elected representatives from Assam in Delhi, by taking a positive initiative of establishing an Assamese auditorium hall in the name of our beloved legend Zubinda in New Delhi? Thank you, sir.
My advice to anybody, especially the youth of not only Assam, but of the Northeast, is to be the best. Be the best in class, be the best in your organization, be the best in your field of sport, because only when you're the best, that's when you shine. And only when you shine, do people look at, oh, which state are you from? Oh, Manipur, Kota Setu. Oh, you're from Assam. Oh, Zubin Garg. Zubin Garg, yali bahire aro 40,000 gan gaise. So you have to be, that's my only advice, that let's not ask for pity, let us not ask for attention, let us be the best in our respective fields. The respect, the attention will flow from that. And I think people will look to you also, the next generation will look up to you and say, hey, Dada goi kori aise moyu parim. So that's my only advice, and obviously the second demand is a rightful demand, and which we will try for sure.
Rima has a question.
Yes, my question to Gaurav Gogoi. Yeah, see, according to you, how far Assam is away from the new horizon at the context of the socio-economic development? Please don't touch the line of political issue blame game. Thank you.
Why are you so behind on international rankings? Why are you not an economic frontrunner?
Well, I think I understood those two questions very separately. The way I understood that question is that governments are operating as if they are in the 20th century. We are in a much different era where the youth, especially with access to social media, do not rely on your news channels only for information. They have access to a wide plethora of information, and therefore they are much more educated than before, and therefore their expectations are much more higher. But the way governments are working, we are still not agile enough to respond to the way society has changed and how much young people expect of us and demand of us, and how quickly they will get tired of us. So therefore, I think one of my responsibilities, that what I've tried to do as party president, is to change the way our party is working. We've tried to make it much more modern, much more agile. We still have a long way to go, but we have a view of how the party can be, operate in the 21st century in a digital era. And I think that's what governments also need to work in terms of its bureaucratic processes and culture. And therefore, it feels that all of you sitting here are so far from what's happening in Assam, and maybe that's also linked to why Assam is unable to grow in the field of education, health, or private investment as other states are. I'm quite hopeful. I think that's going to be our aim, that right now, when we go to some part of India and we say that we are from Assam, what I've encountered is like, oh, you're from Assam, आपका चीफ मिनिस्टर ने वो बोला, आपका चीफ मिनिस्टर ने ये बोला, आपका चीफ मिनिस्टर ने ऐसा क्यों बोला? That's it. इसके बाहर, nothing more than that, very limited to that. So our hope is that in the coming 5 years, with our government, when you go out and you say, I'm from Assam, people say, oh, Assam's doing this. I heard Assam, a star from Assam is doing that. Assam is doing this innovation. The entire perception around Assam, I hope, and I wish, and I aim, and I plan to change.
Thanks. One question there.
Yeah, hi. Yeah. My name is Jyotirma Talukdar, and I teach at Ashoka University. I'll really stick to what's written behind you, which is shaping Assam's future and the question of education, right? I come from the field of education, I teach, so I'll stick to my area of expertise. And in Ashoka, I teach critical thinking, which is really paid a lot of attention to in these universities. You are from one of the illustrious universities in the US, so you'd know the importance of this across fields, right? And I'm going to talk about Assam and what I think should be the vision for education in Assam. And it's not every day that I get to speak to you like this, so I would also take the liberty to share some suggestions very quickly about this. Which is, we know you talked about establishment of a lot of important institutions during the tenure of Mr. Tarun Gogoi. And later after that as well, if we see now, though, there's almost a mushrooming of institutions as well. I come from a part in Lower Assam where one of the colleges was turned into a university. Now this happens very often. You have a college, you turn it into a university. There is no change in infrastructure in both senses of the word. There's no physical change in infrastructure, and more importantly, which I think is much more vital, there is no intellectual infrastructure change that happens, right? So I, as somebody who sees you, of course, already leading the state in the capacity of an opposition, and hopefully sooner or later rooting for you to lead the state from the front as well. What one would really want to see changing is also how people think, debate. And I'm saying this with the full consciousness that we generally don't teach that as a government. We always are scared of people who ask questions, right? But good education and higher education particularly would mean really training people to ask the WH questions. Why is Gaurav Gogoi saying this? What argumentation does he have? Why? How can he substantiate it? And right now, I wish people would be asking similar questions of the current dispensation more at at specifically universities in Assam, etc. Right? So what I would also really want, I would want to hear your view and also add my suggestion to this, which is that we really need to think of education not only, of course, in terms of employment generability, that's one question that's extremely important, but also thinking it from the perspective of really building people who can think well, who can think originally, and who can ask questions. And here's just one last point I'd like to add. Here, one of our friends also talked about people coming here, getting trained here. We have a lot of people now, my generation, the generation after it, who really want to go back to Assam and teach. And some of them are actually doing it, except that they're not really helped by the syllabus. They're not really helped by what is on offer in terms of exams, in terms of evaluation, etc., right, which is purely exam-based. So my point here, and I'm saying this consciously, I didn't want to touch on elections, I didn't want to touch on other things, but I think
Thank you.
Thank you. As opposition and as somebody who has a vision, which I'm very proud of, that you work with a clear vision.
I understand. So let me, so that other people get a chance also.
So this is something that I would really want you to emphasize.
So let me offer my view. My view is that an institution is only good when the person heading the institution is excellent. And that's true of schools, whether government or private. That's true of colleges, whether government or private. And that's true of universities, whether government or private. Some of us have come from the smallest schools, and we remember that remarkable teacher who's transformed the way we look at the world. Some of us have come from institutions who at the beginning were very humble, but under a dynamic leadership has transformed itself. And that I find today is a very structural problem, that talent and merit is not the sole criteria while choosing heads of institutions, especially colleges and universities. And I mentioned one particular university earlier ago, and I've written a letter to the Prime Minister praising that at one point TSP University was in the top 10 of India's universities, and now it's in the news for all the wrong reasons. So I think choosing the head, irrespective of whatever ideology they belong to, if they have the right management bent, academic orientation, right view towards education, I think one thing that we would like to do different is in respecting talent while choosing heads of institutions. I understand that many people are wanting to come back, and therefore again, it's for us, it's for the government to understand that, okay, if you want to do something in education, does it have to be that we go to the World Bank? Why can't we come to New Assam to tell us how to create new examination patterns? Why can't we come to our professors outside and help them set up some kind of online Khan Academy? So it's for governments to understand, because governments also operate in certain limitations, certain processes, but no doubt I think critical thinking is extremely important, especially in today's time when you have artificial intelligence. Earlier, the average Indian knowing English, mathematics and a bit of coding could be the cheap talent that gives us a comparative advantage. Now with AI, the real way to use AI is to give the right instruction to the AI tool. And how do you phrase the question? Because if you phrase it correctly, you'll get the AI to respond in a meaningful manner. And if you are not able to communicate, then the AI would not respond as usefully. So I think beyond critical thinking, even communicating, and obviously all technology right now is happening through English. I think English proficiency needs to continues to be extremely important.
I think there's, on a deeper sense, on a larger sense, and there's a deep requirement for creating and fostering a culture of critical thinking in Assam particularly, so that we can become a front runner. There's a question here. Yeah. After I'll come to you.
And I'd like to ask a very common question.
You're a common person.
Yes, absolutely. So I've been working in the rural parts of India, North India, West Bengal, and of course Assam. And my concern over the years have been what you have in your discussion as education. And I see that education flourishes only in the town areas, be it Guwahati. But what about the rural parts of Assam? If you look at the infrastructure, it is very poor. And then if you look at the teacher quality and shortage, again, that's something to think about. And then there is the digital divide. My concern is there has never been inclusivity in education. Education has only been Guwahati, people coming to Guwahati and learning, but those who have no resources or finances can never reach these places. I am extremely concerned. I have had the privilege of your father visiting us in Karbi Anglong and also having a meal at our home. So he was very much for, bringing about changes out there. I'm looking forward to your government doing something, not only for Karbi Anglong, but for the rural people of Assam. The heart is the rural people. If you are where you are today, sir, it's the rural people that gives you vote. And I think there has to be a change in strategy. There has to be a change in the mindset of the policy you develop. It should not be just the rich becoming richer and the people in the vicinity of the cities going to IIT or places like that having the best. I speak from the heart because I worked there for over 25 years in Assam, in all the rural areas, and my heart aches every time I go back to Assam to see that there is no inclusivity. So many blind students, and then you call it a dropout. So many disabled, and you call it a dropout again. No proper infrastructure, no toilets, and then you say that, oh, there is, again, dropouts. But if these points are addressed, look at the digital divide. Internet connectivity is not there. We are all using our phones. We are making a video of you, taking photographs of you. What about our rural Assamese people? They're only going to lag behind, where the digital divide is so big and education is progressing that way. I'm expecting your government to take a turn when you make a policy in education, that inclusivity be important. I don't want to be dressed in silk and coming to a big hotel like this. I'm speaking for the voiceless today. I'd like you to answer to me or to the people of rural Assam today, sir. Thank you.
No, thank you for your words. What you said reminded me about my emphasis on talent. And I've talked about talent a lot, whether it's about the talent that exists in this room, whether it's the talent that is coming in terms of students and young professionals, and what you also said, which is about investing in talent for the future, which is our children. And that's the strength of India, its economy, which is our human talent in our creativity, in our culture, and in our philosophy, in our spirituality as well. And therefore, essentially in early child education, that remains quite a focus area of us or will be, also in higher education, because I think secondary education has got a lot of, there's been a lot of experimentation, a lot of well-meaning things that have taken place in secondary education. Right now, there is a focus on early child education also, which is coming in. But the problems of being in a remote part of area, or remote part of the state, or you come from a part of the society where you don't have the same abilities as others, whether that's your economic ability or your physical ability, and that marginalizes you, that excludes you, that do exist. What I have found useful is to create models of excellence, whether it's a model school, a model district, a model zone. I think that creating models I found it very useful. I found it very useful in creating networks also, in networks of schools or professionals who are doing very well. I think we live in a vast digital network as well. So I think to be, as a government, to be able to facilitate networks, I think that's very useful as well. And going back to, as I said, what he said about Ashoka University, my Lok Sabha right now is in Jorhat. You are aware of the Butterfly School in Majuli. In Guwahati, there's a fellow, Karbi, if you're Karbi, Parijat Academy is also doing interesting work. And therefore, it's also to be able to, as a government, how can we learn from something that you're doing in maybe one school or in a few schools, and how does the government take that and able to scale it up? Because that's the beauty of government, is scale. Nobody can match the scale of the work that government does. Unfortunately, while government is very good on scale, on innovation, on curriculum, is where private schools are, or private enterprise entrepreneurs are doing much more better. And therefore, we need to match our scale with your learnings, and I think that's going to be important for us.
I know, yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Can you identify yourself?
Yeah, my name is Hoinu Hausel. I'm a journalist and I'm also a former resident of Manipur. So my question naturally will veer around Manipur. So in that spirit of inclusivity, where you encourage different communities of Assam to coexist without anyone towering over the other, I want to bring in the internally displaced persons of Manipur. About 60,000 people have fled Manipur, and a huge chunk of them have made Assam their home. I want to understand from you going forward, what kind of humanitarian support, or what would the plight be? Because a lot of people have been living in Assam, and even before that, Assam has always lured people from the neighboring states. So going forward, what would the plight of people who are not from Assam, but who have made Assam their home, what would their plight be? And particularly the people of Manipur who have just, crossed over and made it their home.
Well, first and foremostly, as a parliamentarian and as the deputy leader of my party, it is my responsibility to continuously highlight the situation in Manipur, to shine light, whether in the parliament or within the media, on the state of affairs in Manipur, so that people don't forget Manipur, and people understand that how far Manipur has to go in order to reach a place of normalcy, if that is even possible, but a place that people can accept the new reality. Specifically with those who are in Assam, I would love to meet with a cross-section of individuals to understand what their aspirations and what their expectations are. And I'm always there. You can simply take my email and we can set up a meeting with a group of people later on, so that we can understand what their needs are.
A question here, right in the front, yeah.
Hello, my name is Kautilya. I'm currently based in Delhi. I'm a data analyst. You spoke about data analyst. Data analyst. So you spoke about entrepreneurship. There's a scheme called CM Atmanirbhar Abhijan, Aham Abhijan, which encourages entrepreneurs and gives them 2 lakhs or 5 lakhs. So I want to know what are your thoughts on that scheme and what you would do to encourage startups and entrepreneurship in Assam.
First of all, with government schemes which are linked to industry and entrepreneurship, in some cases, accessing them is quite easy. Applying for them is quite easy. And for some schemes, it's quite difficult. It's very lengthy. It's almost off-putting, and people not ending up applying only. Say, for instance, there are n number of social welfare schemes in the government of India, but hardly the NGOs that are really doing well in India hardly apply for those government schemes, because the number of stages they have to cross, and the number of loopholes they have to cross, and the number of tables they have to cross. So the first thing with any government scheme, obviously it's well intentioned, is that A, is it easy to enroll for? Is it easy to apply for? Second is to track it. Is the money that's being given, is it being used wisely, or is it being misused? So you have to be able to track it in order to evaluate it, right? You're a data analyst. How do I evaluate whether that scheme is doing well? Is it just by tracking the number of beneficiaries, or there's another way of tracking output that is meaningful, so that I know this scheme is doing well, or I need that if we do these things, these schemes would be much more meaningful. But largely, what I find, what is happening in the way governments think, and how governments outside in other countries think. We think in terms of scheme. Climate change, kya karna hai? Scheme le aao. Electric, kya karna hai? Scheme le aao. Whereas if when we go to other countries, they'll say, they use laws. They will change the law. They will bring a new bill. They will amend the acts that are already existing in order to make life much more easier. We don't even look at that. We don't even look at the acts, all the laws, taxation, all the permits that an entrepreneur needs. And can we do anything there in order to make the life easy? All we think is scheme. And again, what is scheme? Scheme is nothing but a loan, a subsidy. That's it. So that's all our view on entrepreneurship, to give a loan or to give a subsidy. Iske alawa aur kuch nahi hai. So that's why I think, there's much more things that we need to go out of this scheme mindset. Scheme is good, but we have to look at other things related to entrepreneurship, education being very important, and looking at all the laws, bylaws, permits that you need in order to keep an enterprise growing. What can be tweaked? That's again where we lawmakers need to apply our minds.
Question right in the front. Can we get a mic here, please?
Thank you. I'm Sanghamitra Mishra. I teach, I'm a professor of history at Delhi University. So I really enjoyed listening to both the questions and your answers. So thank you so much for making this time. And I had a question which actually takes me back to the beginning of the program today, where we began with our, offering our respects to Zubin Garg, and we talked about, I think in many ways, it is a moment of experiencing cultural nationalism again. And I think in many ways we have to, I'm concerned about what is coming as a citizen, the election campaign really, and I want to link this cultural nationalism which to the manner in which I think it's being presented, distorted, in the form of a very deep Hindu majoritarian exclusivist narrative that we see the BJP presenting at the moment, of how history has been, the manner in which Assam's history is being presented. And that is of concern. I've been teaching history in Delhi University for many years, and I introduced this paper for the first time on colonial northeastern India, but I have a very engaged class of students from Assam and elsewhere. But there is a concern that the manner in which we see history and the way in which it is taught, which is, I do not expect you to address that problem now, But I really feel as a citizen that in your campaign, you cannot avoid the question of history and cultural nationalism, because that is what the BJP works on a great deal, as you would know, I'm sure. That emotion, that polemics, that rhetoric, and we need to put an alternate narrative. We need to craft it very carefully, and we need to have that as part of the campaign. And I think we cannot avoid that, because however much we know that the reality is about what we are talking about, jobs, employment, health, education, everything, the manner in which we need to kind of snatch that narrative of history from them as well, and project our culture and nationalism exactly like you're saying in inclusive way. So I hope that's included, and that some of us can come together, in Assam and elsewhere to help create this alternative narrative where we face the issues in history and bring it to people. Because it's been, it is playing on the mind. In fact, that's what we see a lot in Delhi as well. I mean, all the metros had Lassit Borphukan on them, right? Now, what is Lassit Borphukan? That is something that has to be talked about, and I hope, that you'll make that part of your campaign. We can't,
no, thank you very much. And I'm glad you raised the topic of culture, because I think that is so relevant, not only in Assam, but across the world. And I think what's really happening, what is really shifting politics right now is not economics, it's culture. Whether that's the politics in America and their rhetoric, whether it's the politics of Europe, and whether it's the politics of the ruling party. Culture is a huge medium to shift people's minds. And as you said, in Zubin's passing, we've seen the power of culture. The lakhs of people that have turned out, no political rally could have got those lakhs. The way he spoke against, saying that who is the central government to say that Assamese is a classical language, what have that? I, as an artist, have contributed far more to Assamese language, and Sanskrit, Pali are the original classical languages. The power of artist, and through his songs also, whether it's the song of Mayabini, the power of how do you confront with depression and negativity, and how do you overcome the storms of life. I think I respect and understand the power of culture. I think Assamese culture and its subcultures are extremely important, and I try and much as to understand them, appreciate them, respect them, encourage them, support them. And I think what you said is what is really needed is some form of collectivism that is required for us to tell our story, because there are certain gimmicks that are taking place. You refer to an example. There's a government, because of the way it does government functions, it becomes very gimmicky. There is no heart in it, and culture is all about heart. It's not about events. We're getting so many people to dance, forgetting that they have to give exams. So it's becoming event oriented, and culture is not that. Culture is about how you transform society in a way that even politics cannot, and culture often heals the wounds that politics create. So I am very much head on taking culture to give that alternative vision. I do find myself hampered that artists, and everybody in this climate, are afraid of expressing themselves, and therefore what I can do is to go to those who express themselves to give them my support. And that's what I did when I visited Garimaba also, and I said that whatever decision you take in terms of the funeral, whether Jorhat, Guwahati, Khomadi Khetrot Kot Hobo Lage, what we, do you want the Hamadi Khetro, Zubin Khetro to be open till late? You know, you will have the full backing of our party and the Congress party as long as I'm president. And I think that's what our view is, that's our mission, to support artists who want to express what's going on. And therefore, again, and through art, through culture, through songs, retell the people of Assam what it truly means to be Assamese in today's time.
Manas, you have a question? Then we'll come to the front.
Hi, this is Manas. I'm also a journalist, but still I want to just ask this question. Yeah. So you talked about people of Assam still mourning the death of our icon, our Jubinda. This is unprecedented actually, after almost a month has gone by, but still we are crying, people of Assam are crying. Do you think this pain, this anger over lack of closure in the case will find some reflection in Assam's politics actually? Will it also help in cleaning up the system? And as somebody, the main leader of the opposition party, you have to talk about it. But people might also kind of criticize you that you are using a national tragedy, a deep tragedy to, you know, gain political mileage. So these are contradictions, but as somebody who is Congress's president in Assam, you have to talk about it. So how you are navigating this difficult kind of a situation? And one more question, very quick question. You are taking on a mighty BJP, definitely. I mean, they will use every means in their disposal to win the election. So are you going to, you are gaining a lot of traction. Actually, people are looking up to you in Assam. A lot of people are looking up to you. So are you going to just kind of present an alternative development model or vision for Assam? We are facing a lot of challenges. Joblessness is a huge challenge. Economic growth is slowing down very, very significantly. Debt is increasing every in Assam. So are you also going to just project some alternative vision for the state? Thanks.
See, whenever there is a death in the family, and the death took place unexpectedly, it hits you very differently. And when you see an ailing member of your family getting treated, going to the hospital, doctor saying, looks bad, you're kind of prepared for it also. But when it happens unexpectedly, hotate hoi gol. It just hits you at a much deeper level, and it just leaves you very shaken. And that's where people of Assam are right now, because of the suddenness of it. And what is contributing to this is the fact that the facts are not out, the truth is not out. So you're going through all the worst possible scenarios in your head, which is never a good thing. And as I said, in such a high visible police investigation, the sensibility, responsibility and maturity with which the government had to respond has just not come. As I said, as someone connected to public life, we understand that the people of Assam are grieving. And therefore, it is only not only the family, but people are grieving. And therefore, our only role right now is to be a pillar of support. We are not a leader on this issue. We are just a pillar of support, a reliable pillar. And in this era, you said, what's an alternative thing you're going to, what alternative ideas you have. we've talked about culture, we've talked about economy. And what another alternative that we wish to offer is that you will not be penalized for having an opinion that is critical of the government, which is what is happening today. And that fear, unjustifiably, wrongly, which has seeped into people's mind. If you ask me, what's the number one thing that I would like to put, although I'm not the chairman of the manifesto we have a senior leader, but the number one is to get the fear of government out of people of Assam. It's your government, as the lady said, it's your vote that put us here, and get the fear out, because only when you stop fearing will you demand. Only when you demand would you put pressure on us. Only when there's pressure on government will government perform. So that's what we're therefore doing, is really putting the people at the center of this entire crisis of Zubin Da, whether it's with the memorial, whether it's the Samadhi Khetro, with Pratimurti, just putting them at the center, and we're just supporting them. And again, as I said, police will not be used to stifle dissent.
There's a question right in the front. After that, we'll have two more questions, last two questions.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk. I am Subhiddat Majumdar. I hail from Silchar, but I spent most of my schooling and college at Jorhat first, and then Cotton College, Guwahati. Now, I am a former chairman, Central Board of Excise and Customs from the Revenue Service. Now, being a former civil servant, my interest is obviously on that side. I find that the number of civil servants who cleared these competitive exams from Assam, for that matter of the Northeast, is very poor. And one reason is basically the absence of training. Because this examination, whether you like it or not, you have to accept that he has to undergo certain training. It happened in my case. From Jorhat, মই Jorhat পৰা দিল্লী আহিছিলোঁ 2 মাহৰ কাৰণে তাৰপাছত শ্বিলঙৰ পৰা পৰীক্ষা দিছোঁ So this is the background, and that I would like to give some thought to it. When you are in a position to do that, please have some institutes for those people. I tell you, our boys from Assam are so bright, but they can't get, because the competitive type of examination type is quite different from others. So what I suggest is that to have a study of it, and maybe to start with 3 centers can be chosen from the 3 areas of Assam: Guwahati, Jorhat, and Silchar. And then you will find that the number of officers coming from Northeast will come up very well. And I can tell you from my own experience, it helps to have your own people in the administration. So that is not happening here. Thank you very much.
Everybody, you're absolutely right. I think everybody knows in the IAS and IPS, there is a dearth that we're going to have over the next few years to have really senior high-ranking IPS, IAS officers from Assam. And that will only affect us when Government of India takes a policy decision on where to assign this particular policy benefit. So I completely agree, and I think, thank you for your suggestion.
There's a question in the middle row, yeah.
My name is Vijay Gogoi, you know me.
Family.
So, and I work in the consulting industry. So it's usually said that if you have to be successful, whether it's an organization or an individual or even a country, you have to lean in on your strengths. Yeah. So I just wanted your view on what are the strengths that we as a state, as a society, should lean in so that we have a very, the new horizons that we're talking of.
That's a very good question. But going back to consultancy, what COVID did is to push forward this work from home culture. And now through social media, what has contributed to the work from home culture is digital nomads. And being in Delhi at this time of year, people are all looking out that how can we work from Goa and shift to Goa. And it's unfortunate that Goa has that kind of internet vibe for people to Delhi to go there. And the hills of Shillong don't have that. And the hills of Nagaland doesn't have that. It has, but that ecosystem has not come for you to look at, to lean on the strengths of the Northeast, which is its ecology. And instead of chopping it to create more roads, you lean in to kind of pull in, high talent, very well-paid professionals like yourself, to go there, and you kind of create a community and of entrepreneurs doing various interesting things as well. The second thing, one very, I will not say it is unique, but it is something very, at least I can say very Assamese, is that I have to go back. There's this strong sense that I have to go back, I have to give back. And I think that's a real strength, because there's just so many people who are doing so well. If we can find a way to, as I said, as a government, as a government which has a tremendous power in how the state, its bodies, its institutions, its infrastructure looks like, is to how we are able to accept the talent that wants to come back, or the talent that wants to give back. It's unfortunate that there is this divide that people want to give back. Government also wants to get, but there is some language barrier, some legislative barrier, some policy barrier. So I think that we have to really focus in on. And just going back to what the former question was, again, a very unique strength of ours is our culture. And I think we need to find more ways of exercising this muscle. I think culture is a very strong muscle of the Assamese fiber, and we've just not exercised it enough. And I'm quite keen to see what happens when culture is not something some department, some ministry is, along with economy, education, health, culture and sports sits right in the middle, top 4-5 foundational pillars to for the next 5 years or 10 years.
Ritu. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, sir. Really appreciate it. I'm just going to take a cue from my friends in Delhi University who shared their vision and their thoughts. And this is a generation which is known to have sky-high ambition and to do something, right? And the only way to support that is through economic growth. So if you could share with us your 30,000 feet view of what could be done to sort of ensure that the growth momentum in Assam and Northeast could be sort of fueled to ensure that the generations that are coming up get an opportunity to sort of realize their ambition that they have.
No, I think, let's say I offer this with all honesty, is I think the retail sector is facing a lot of disruptions, which is favoring the Amazons and the Flipkarts. And the way the small retailer, the middle-sized retailer, the handicraft, the local artisans, the way they should have benefited from this technological revolution has not happened at scale. At the same time, sitting even at even a higher elevation than me is the Union Government of India. They themselves have created an entirely new ministry of cooperatives, which earlier existed as department in the Ministry of Agriculture. So even at their level, with the access to the talent they have, they must have also looked at cooperatives as a way of propelling the rural economy, creating rural entrepreneurs, aggregating their produce, able to offer them managerial assistance, financial assistance, technological services. And I think that's what, again, I would also try and look at. That was something that my father also felt quite passionate about in Sibsagar. Way before this government happened and has created a ministry, at his time he had envisioned a university of cooperative management. Because cooperatives, when they're not run well, like businesses, they just go bankrupt and they go into a financial spiral. So I would definitely look at, cooperatives which are based on Assamese products, or handicrafts, textiles, look at technology, look at the entire value chain and how we can plug in. And again, going back to my mama's question, which is also the horticulture, we are at the very low end of the horticulture value chain, and for that matter, plantation, even tea. We are at the low end. We are plucking or we are growing. That's it. We're not doing extraction, we're not doing refining, we're not doing packaging. All of that, all the higher end of the value chain of the bananas and the gingers and the chamomile flowers, orchids or tea, all the things which are high up in the value chain are outside of Assam. So how do we bring those, value chains inside Assam is also issue. But as I said, these are things that sometimes get done within a year, 2 years, and sometimes, we are able to do only certain things, which then later successive governments have to keep continuing.
Absolutely. One last question from the lady here. She'll have the last word. Very brief.
Thank you very much. I feel privileged to be the last one to ask question. My name is Dharitri Narzari. I teach in a university in Delhi. And I have a very basic question. And that is, what ails Assam? And this is a question that I know many in the audience who have witnessed and experienced the turmoil of Assam in the past few decades would resonate with this question. And at that point in time, the very straightforward answer would be insurgency, right? And which stopped everything else. The life stand still. So from there on, we have moved. We have moved on now on the path of development. And, but as someone seeing it from outside for many, many years now, when I look at Assam from Delhi, for instance, I feel that everything else in Assam is consumed by politics. And you are talking about, for instance, about polarization in Assamese society. We know that Assam is a composite society. Now we have so many, it's a mosaic of cultures, peoples. And in the present context, when we look at Assam and your imagination, my question is also, again, what kind of future are we imagining for Assam? Looking at these themes of today, education, skill, and employment, economic development, we're talking about development. But what kind of a development are we imagining? And then, linking it with your own imagination of Greater Assam, where you talk about inclusivity, and many of the other questions in the previous sessions or previous people have asked is also, I think, very much connected with this question, is that the question of what ails Assam still persists. So I would like to hear from you, actually, what ails Assam?
It's a deeply fundamental question.
I will take it separately because there was one future-centric part of your question, and one is present-centric, which is what ails Assam. And I think today, the first and foremost word that came to my mind about what ails Assam is geography. I think we are removed from we are far from the markets of Calcutta, we are far from the technological hubs of innovation of Hyderabad and Bangalore, we are far from the political capital of Delhi, we are far from the financial capital of Bombay. We are vulnerable to the tides and moods of the river Brahmaputra, which can flood in one part of Assam this year and flood you in a different part of Assam, and therefore you're always waiting for some natural disaster to happen. It can create drought in a place which has never experienced drought for 30 years, and suddenly it goes and floods somewhere else. So you're bounded by Myanmar, from where drugs comes in, and all sorts of illegal, counterfeit, grey commodities and goods come in. You're bounded on this side by Bangladesh, where you can't, which separates you from the rest of India, and you're unable to transport your goods, your produce, in a fast enough manner for it to remain fresh and it to be cheaper and competitive compared to elsewhere. And therefore you're always relying on some form of grant and subsidy and pity for private investment to come in because of the way your geography is. So I think that's a structural ailment that we have. I think politics of insurgency we have overcome. Geography and ecology is what we are still we're still trying to figure out a way out of. And as I said, I completely agree with you on the mosaic culture, and we've referred to it many times. And I think something, if I were to add more, and again, is a lesson that I've taken from my father as well, that development is not just building roads, or is not just economic growth, or is not just GDP. It's also just not culture. Sometimes politics is also important. You have to see a Bodo person in a politically important role. When there is a woman sitting on the chair of the chief minister, that is an important pivotal point for Assamese society. When you have an Adivasi sitting on the chair of the speaker, that is important. When you have someone from Karbi, talking about Karbi Anglong vociferously, strongly in the assembly, when you have people from Silchar and Karimganj talking about why Guwahati, why not Silchar, why not Karimganj, I think giving political space, political representation to all the different communities at all the different levels of the political structure, right from panchayat to the highest post, I think that's also very important, and that's would be a focus for us also.
We'll leave it at that. Very, very engrossing and engaging conversation. Thank you so much, Gaurav, for taking the time out and dropping by to have this conversation with us.
So we have arrived to the final segment of this evening, that is vote of thanks. Before doing this, I want to mention a few things. As we had gone through a very engaging interactive session, and it was kind of, we didn't want to finish, but as we have to, before that I want to mention about Axom New Horizons. Actually is a inclusive group of people and representatives are from various communities in Assam. And today we are so happy to see that people from all communities are participating, like from Karbi Anglong we had important questions. Also the people from Manipur who are now taking Assam as their homes, they also have some plights which we have come to know through this session. So therefore we invite you all to be more active in Axom New Horizons with your new ideas, concept, and change of information. So we will work together in future. Today, on behalf of Axom New Horizons, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Gaurav Gogoi for gracing this occasion. Your presence and insightful discussions enriched us truly. We look forward to hearing from you for more on such important issues. We are taking your pointers as valuable food for thoughts because it was an elaborative discussion today. My sincere thanks to our moderator, Gaurav Chaudhary, for steering the session and for making the session so interesting, engaging, and meaningful. Thank you. A special word of appreciation to our distinguished invitees and participants. Your presence and encouragement mean a lot to us. Your questions about Axom, the concept of Axom, the Boro Axom, and also the other economic and social issues are really made a great deal to us. Thank you for being with us today and making this program a success. A special word of appreciation for our behind-the-scene team who worked dedicatedly to ensure a seamless program today. Last but not the least, thank you everyone who helped with logistics, hotel management, and anyone whom I might have forgotten to mention for your participation, energy, and time. Thank you so much. Hokoluke dhanyabad janaisu. Aru bohukhini kotha aji bahut harua kotha ami alochona korilu, and we want to take it forward for future discussions. Thank you. Now, with this, formally, we conclude today's program. You should, I request you please join us for dinner. Dinner will be served in the pre-function area. Thank you.